Okay, I'm going to do a quick review, or maybe not so quick, we'll see, of doing some functions on Desmos. So in Algebra 1, we should have been doing a bunch of Desmos stuff at the end of the year, which last year we weren't able to do. So I'm going to show you. So log into desmos.com, just get in here, and you're going to hit the graphing calculator. This should pop up. And anybody who is watching this video, it's really important that if you haven't done so already, log in, and you're just going to log in with Google. Okay, so your account can be right here. And then if you ever want to save a graph, you'll be able to save some graphs. Okay, so I haven't done anything yet, so there's nothing to save. So let's do a bit of, let's start with lines. So you remember lines are y equals mx plus b. So y equals 2x. So we're going to start creating like pictures of stuff. I want you guys to get creative. So if you want the slope of the line to change, you're just going to change the slope. So let's say you want a negative slope, -2. Okay. Let's say you want it shifted up a little bit. You're going to do +1, or you can change it to +2 or +3 or anything like that. So let me go back and just do 2x. Okay. So let's say you have +4 that you're doing. So the one cool thing, like if you're designing something like that, you can copy the whole thing. You can do Control-C and do Control-V. It's actually on top of the other one, but let's say you just want it down 1. So you're going to go to 3. Okay. And then Control-V again. Let's say you want another one at 2. Okay. So whatever design or whatever picture you're making, maybe if it had 3 lines in it or something like that that you needed, you could do this right here, like shift it like this right here. Okay. Now I'm going to go back up to the first one. So it's a red line, and I'm going to talk about domain and range. Okay. So domain is how wide. So that's the X values. So you want to restrict your domain, and sometimes you want to restrict your range, your Y values, how tall it is. Now, sometimes you only have to restrict your X values and not your Y values. Sometimes you have to do both. Sometimes you can only do your Y values. It totally depends on whatever you are designing, okay? And my students in the past have actually designed their own house. So they pull up a picture of their own house and they just recreate it looking at it. Some people actually put the picture on this screen and then copy over it with lines and cut the lines off using domain and range, okay? So cool. This is like the coolest project that, it's just the coolest project ever. So to restrict domain and range, you do a bracket. And let's say I only want my red line from here to here. So I only want this portion from here to here. So you can either restrict it on the Y or you can restrict it on the X. I'm just going to stick with X's right now because I want to know how wide I want this to go. I only want it to go from -2 over here to 0 because that's where this portion of the red line is. So I'm going to go -2. And then you actually have to, where is it? Let me get rid of that. You actually have to have this up. And I want it to be, oh shoot, I'm out of the thing. Here, get back in there. Less than or equal to X, less than or equal to 0. Okay? So now it is only showing my line between -2 and 0. That is a domain restriction that I just did because it's an X value restriction. Okay, remember, domain and range, you really have to have the smaller number to the left and the larger number to the right. Okay, and your inequality is facing this way. All right, now the blue one isn't going to be from -2 to 2. It's actually, what number is that? -1.5 to 3. Okay, so, well, actually, it's -1.5 to 0 because I can't interchange X's and Y's, right? So I'm going to put my bracket. What did I just see? So what did I just say? -1.5, okay, less than or equal to X, less than or equal to, and it goes, I want it to go to 0. Well, now it's disappeared, but go to 0, and now I have that line from there to there. Okay, so can you figure out how to do the green line? Click on that. We know we want it from here to here. So from here to here is a domain of here to here. Okay, so it's -1 to 0. That's the only spot we want to see our green line. So -1 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 0. Okay? So there, I just cut those lines. So do you see what I'm saying now? If you know domain and range, you can cut your lines and make things go from wherever you want it to, as long as you can click on it and figure out those numbers. Okay? All right, so I'm going to leave those. Well, actually, I'm probably going to delete those because you have the video. You can always go back to these. Okay, now the second type of graph that you can cut off, and the second function that I want you to know is y equals the absolute value of x. Okay, this is often found in art, in pictures, in buildings, a V-shaped graph. So if you remember a V-shaped graph, to flip it upside down, because a roof doesn't go like that, a roof goes the opposite way, what do? You put a negative out front, okay? And then how do you get this thing to go up here? You shift it. It's a shift on the outside of the absolute value bars. So it's plus, I don't know, 5, let's say, if you want it to go up to there, right? So depending on where you have your picture centered, it really is a lot easier to center your picture around 0. I suppose that depends, but I usually always, anything I create, I center it around 0 because it's easy to find. Let's say I only want this portion right here to right here. Okay, so I could do -5 to 5 for my domain. Let me show you this. So -5 is less than or equal to is less than or equal to +5. And then I just cut that. And let's say you want it up here though. Let's say you want it up to 8 because it's not high enough. You want to create like, the front part of your house right here. So you need some space, okay? So you can shift that up that way, all right? But then, from here to here is a little bit different. The domain is a little bit different, okay? So let me go back and show you. Now let's get rid of this restriction right here. So that's the whole line again. So I know earlier I said you could also do range to cut things. So I don't have to focus on just left and right. I can focus on up and down. So if I was going to do the same thing that I just did, I would cut this graph from 0 to 5, right? But it wouldn't be x's. I'm talking y values right now, okay? So 0 is less than or equal to y is less than or equal to 5. So sometimes when you are when you're restricting domains and ranges, you might actually, if it's messing up and you can't figure it out, it might be because you should technically have an X here for a domain instead of a range, or vice versa. Okay? Now, the only other thing I'm going to talk about in this particular video is horizontals and verticals, so that you guys can start designing a house or a building of your choice. Okay? So if you remember, a horizontal line is y equals a number. Okay, so let me change the color of this. Let me change the color. So settings, hit that. I want to change the color so that doesn't look like. Okay, so if you saw that, I just changed the color. So I hit this settings, you hit the color, you can change it to whatever you want. You can change it to solid, dashed, or dotted as well. Okay, I just changed it to red so you guys can see it right now. All right, so this could be like the top part, like right underneath the roof of your building. So how do you cut that? You do the same thing. Let's say I only want it from -2 to 2. Or maybe I want it from -4 to 6. I don't know. It doesn't have to be centered. Okay? So just do your domain and range. So I'm going to do my bracket, and I'm going to do, let's do -3. I'm just going to randomly make this up right now. Is less than x is less than or equal to, I don't know, 5. Okay? So it only is showing from -3 to 5 right now. And let's say it's like just not meeting right there for whatever reason. It's like not where you want it, not perfect. You could change 5 to like 4.95. Okay. And well, I guess you guys can't see that. So let's do like 4.7. See how it cut it off just a little bit? Like if you're trying to get things to match, you might actually have to go to sometimes like the nearest 100, okay, to get it to like fit how you want it to. It's really kind of cool. Okay, so a horizontal line is a y equals a number. So what is a vertical line? So from Algebra 1, you should know this, that is x equals a number. Okay, and again, you can change the color. I'm not going to change that right now, but you can change the color of this line if you want to. All right, now let's say I'm going to change this one right here back to 5 so it hits right there. Okay, but let's say I only want this red line from that's 3 to 0, right? But I should say 0 to 3. So this is one of those cases where you can't do domain, right? You can't do x values because this only has one domain. So you have to do y values. You want y values ranges from 0 to 3. So I can cut this one off. And if you want to, if you know what you're doing, if you know you want this from 0 to 3 down here, and you know it's a range, you can just copy this, change this 0, change this to 3, but make sure you change that to a y. Okay, so it's just a faster way instead of typing it all out always. Okay, now if you notice, like, so a vertical line, I tried to change the domain. This is a domain, an x value. It doesn't work anyway. Okay, so because it only has one domain. So 0 to 3, now it disappears. Okay, because you need to change that to a range value, a y value. Okay, so what I'd like you to do based off this video is get into Desmos and start creating a house with doors, like a door and windows and a roof and multiple roofs and a chimney, things like that, and see how you're starting off with this, because I'll show you more functions that you can use to make curves and things. Okay? All right. Good luck.